start off with, I'd like you to introduce you in a very unmediated way to where all this work that I've been doing started off in. So if you take out your 3 fingers here and put them on your pulse on the other hand, for just 30 seconds we're just going to close our eyes and feel this pulse. And there's all these thoughts and ideas running around in our head. We're just like, suspend them for 30 seconds. And what do you feel under your pulse there, that texture, that rhythm? Yeah, that's you. That's been beating before you knew you were you. And what do you feel in between? So there's time in between that pulse. And then when you breathe in and breathe out, what is this space? If you had to describe this as a shape, or as a place, or as a sound, what would that be like? That's a space, a sound inside you. So when we reduce our experience of ourselves to just this simplicity, it's a really useful space to be in sometimes. So you can open your eyes now. This idea about being in the moment I find very interesting as an artist, and I'm very interested in how artworks have that capacity to bring us to a form of stillness and to being here and now in different ways. And what I've been working with for the past 10 years is heartbeat, using heartbeat to make art, using live heartbeat to make art, and your heartbeats. So I work with the autonomic nervous system. That's a big, long word. Autonomic means it's automatic. So you don't have to think about breathing, you don't have to think about your heart beating. But at the same time, it's not like we can't control it at all. We can influence that. And that's what I've been looking at in my artworks. Another thing that's really important to me is about how we think about technology. And so the art I make is about how we think about our relationship to technology and how we reflect on that. So a lot of us have had some great experiences of technology, but also some not so good ones. Very famous artist, David Rokeby from Canada, has written about this idea about technologies and how it shapes our life and our world and our imagination. He says that technology is interactive to the degree that it reflects back the consequences of our decisions and actions. So that's an obvious thing. I press the button and something happens, yeah? But it's also like a mirror. And it reflects not only back, but also refracts what is given. It transforms us. So what is returned is something else. We become changed. So that's in a really obvious way, we become changed when we surf on the internet, yeah? We become changed when we sit in a computer for 8 hours a day, slumped over like that, and then it's like, oh, that hurts, yeah? That technology is taking a shape of us, requiring us to be in the world in certain ways. But what if that could be not necessarily something that hurt us, but something that made us revealed something else? If that some technologies are burying parts of us, can other technologies and cultural practices bring something back out? What can we rediscover? So this is an artwork I started in 2004, working with heartbeats and breath. Let's have a look here. This is really all these sounds and visuals, they're all being driven in real time by your breath and your heartbeat. So what I'm interested in is about what can we discover in ourselves in the moment? And how does this kind of experience become a reference point for thinking about who and how we can be? See here, this is in Perth. There's a really large projection, so you feel in your body. You don't think about this idea, you feel it in your body. Expansion, contraction, warmth, coolness. So when you're breathing out, it's closing down. When you breathe out, that slows down your heartbeat, and you see the circles close down as well. Forward over to the next slide. That got me thinking about what this is culture. I thought it used to be a really private thing, but then I started realizing it's a social thing. It's culture. It's how we care about bodies and think about ourselves. So in this project called the Heart Library, which I developed with Caitlin Newton-Broad and David and Greg, we really wanted to take that idea about creating a laboratory and a space where people can explore that, not necessarily in an art gallery, although we've shown it in art galleries, but also in hospitals. We thought hospitals, everyone's really thinking about what it is to have a body. So this has become it's literally a mirror. That screen above there, you see yourself. There's a little camera in that hole there, and you see yourself, but you see yourself, this technology is reflecting back something hidden about you. And you get a vision of yourself that's got nothing to do with what you look like to other people, about how good you are, how fit you are, anything like that. It's just about you, that luminosity, that feeling of you being alive in the moment. And just what a gift that is, just to take people to that very simple level. You saw those particles moving up as the heart rate goes up, and then they'll pour down. So the work, simply, I just say, you experiment with this and you see what changes. And people do all sorts of interesting things. It's a space for reflecting. I think this is what art, and especially interactive art, can be great in terms of cause and effect. And people experiment with stuff. There's that going on, but also they can just shut up and just be with themselves. Interesting, other people can be with you too. I make these as social environments. So in Taipei, we'd have about 40 people sometimes lined up, all just like, wow, that person's alive. It's their heartbeat. What are they thinking? It's red, it's blue, it's beautiful. So the other part of this work is about, how do experiences like these aesthetic, not intellectual, these feeling experiences, how do they ricochet, and how do those reference points link to all these other things in our mind? So we hit on this idea about creating these maps. The idea of these maps came from HIV projects with women in Uganda and South Africa. But I said, rather than intellectualizing it, you create a map for me of what you felt. So I'm going to play some interviews now of a woman talking about this at St Vincent's Hospital.
It's like an abstract. And then it was personal. The thing that really struck me was that the moment I said to myself, I accept myself just as I am, the dots went blue. And that was very interesting to me.
Yes.
Knowing that I'm capable of big things, of doing. And at the moment I'm dealing with a life-threatening illness, so that's important for me.
Yep.
That I'm actually capable of stepping into another realm as well.
Yep.
Incredible. So just briefly want to go on to now, after doing that project, I met Dr Angie Morrow, who's out here somewhere in the audience. And Angie was very interested in this work in terms of she works with people in a hospital and what could that work do for the people she works with. And also simultaneously we're thinking about, she thought that could do something with the kids I work with. She does botulinum toxin injections for children with different brain injuries, cerebral palsy, I think. And it's painful and the kids get scared. And we're thinking, wow, if you could learn to relax, would that help? Yeah? So we're given distraction therapies, you can see there. But sometimes that's not enough, or it takes up a lot of time. So we've been developing this iPad app there that kids can play with in the waiting room, but then take into the procedure room as well. And what we want to test is, does it help? When these kids have this reference point for a way of controlling some aspect of their experience, does that give them a focus for managing their experience during that sometimes scary and painful experience? So here are just some images here the kids have been drawing. Again, it's the idea about what is happening when you have that experience of yourself represented back like that. What does that mean? So I was wanting to see what was sticking in the kids' imagination and then maybe even get some ideas. Yep, and I'll just close by showing you some pictures of the app that we're developing now. Here we are. So all these shapes are being controlled by your breathing, your heart rate. They're controlled by your breathing because when you breathe out very slowly, that slows the heart rate down. When you breathe in, it goes up again. So it's kind of not very busy right now, but as soon as you start slowing down, you will see a decrease in the heart rate. You can bring out all these beautiful colours and sounds. This is a version that won the National New Media Art Award last year. So there's a little adult part here as well where you can put your finger on the screen and you can see that data in a different way as well. There's lots of different ways to experience this. You can see there, that's what your breath does. When you slow down and relax and do that breathing, 6 breaths per minute, you get this resonance. very interesting. You see that resonance in all sorts of practices that people have, you know, prayer, singing, meditation. So I'm interested in that link as well. You know, this is the ways humans care for themselves. So yeah, that's the work I've been doing, and I think it's, whether you call it art or design, that's not what matters to me. I think it's about innovations in meaning and about changing meanings around how we care for ourselves and how we understand who we are as people, yeah? Not just bodies and minds split apart, but how that works together. Thanks for your time.